Chapter 11. Younger brother, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 11. Brother Fuyan Courtyard is a courtyard with 3 entrances. Entering from the Yamen gate, there are chazho verandas on both sides, and a hallway in the middle. There is a rosewood shelf and marble screen. House. May, you are tired too, let Nanny Tian take you back to the yard to rest. Yuan said, and stopped. Xia Jiwei's attitude towards her suddenly changed drastically. From the previous love and indifference, to being willing to call her mother, Yuan sure was really flattered. How dare she ask Xia Jiwei to send her back to the room? I'm going to see my brother. Xia Jiwei already looked into the room, his eyes full of expectation. Xia Yuanbai, the eldest son, now has only 1 daughter and 1 son. Xia Jiwei is born of Yuan's spouse Cui, and 5-year-old Xia Mingxi is born of Yuan. Because of different mothers, Xia Jiwei was not close to his younger brother before. Being calm in the past, upon hearing Xia Jiwei's voice, Xia Mingxi would rush out like a little leopard. Even if Xia Jiwei didn't want to see him, he would call sister flatteringly. But today, the house was extremely quiet. What happened? Xia Jiwei couldn't help but think about her previous life. Not long afterward, she heard that Xia Mingxi had burnt out her brain. Her heart skipped a beat and she walked quickly towards the house. Eldest wife, eldest miss, 5th young master. Is sick. Xia Mingxi's nursing mother, Lianyang, rushed out from the east wing and knelt down in the yard with a plop. Xia Jiwei's legs gave way and he almost fell down. He lifted his skirt and ran. In the second room of the east wing, Xia Mingxi slept on a canopy bed carved with wangwali flowers, covered with a satin quilt with 8 clusters of fish pond patterns on a blue background, revealing a small face, eyes closed, flushed with heat, it's about to catch fire. Brother Shi. Yuan sure rushed over, seeing her son like this, fell to the bed with a thud, and almost fainted from crying. Nurse Tian was also taken aback, but at this moment, no one could remember to ask Lianyang, why didn't anyone go to Feimin Temple to report that the 5th young master was burnt like this? The old lady's people only cared about getting them back home, and didn't even mention 5th young master's words. Xia Mingxi's tiny body had already started to twitch. Seeing this, Yuan sure also trembled, and instinctively shouted, "Where's the doctor? Get someone to call for a doctor." Xia Jiwei lifted the thick quilt covering Xia Mingxi's body, and ordered, "Bring a pot of spirits, and prepare a basin and a cotton handkerchief." Xia Jiwei's voice was very calm, and this calmness immediately comforted the people in the room, and Yuan sure came back to his senses. Quick, go and get the jar Yuhuchen. The women and maids in the room got busy in an orderly manner, and became much quieter. Xia Jiwei sat down on the edge of the bed, held Xia Mingxi's small hand, put 3 fingers on his pulse, stared at his younger brother, Yushua's lovely face. She still remembered his bright eyes like black grapes, but this at that time, his eyes were closed, his teeth were clenched, his breathing was short, and his lips were purple. May, your brother. Yuan barely calmed down, looked at Xia Jiwei nervously, trying to read something from her face. Tears welled up in Xia Jiwei's eyes. His younger brother's intelligence remained at the 5-year-old stage. 10 years later, the Xia family encountered a catastrophe. Xia Jiwei wanted to save a line of blood for the Xia family, and used all his strength to arrange for Xia Mingxi to escape. Yes, Xia Mingxi refused. What if my sister dies if I run away? Is death scary? If it is not scary, I am not afraid of death. If it is scary, will my sister be afraid? She was in the cold palace, and she burst into tears when she heard the words brought by the dark guard. Everyone said that my brother is a fool, only she understands that my brother is not stupid, he is too pure and kind. Bring the wine. Xia Ji ordered in a cold voice. Nurse Tian was waiting by the bed with a copper basin and a cotton handkerchief. Xia Jiwei poured all the wine into the copper basin. For a while, the room was filled with a strong smell of wine. Xia Jiwei ordered the window to be opened again. Although it is early autumn, it is already chilly. Xia Jiwei ordered to open the window. Yuan was worried that her son would be frozen, but she didn't stop her. Xia Jiwei was able to save the queen, so she must be able to save her son. She took a few steps back to make room in front of the bed, and only watched nervously. Xia Jiwei took off her brother's clothes with her own hands. The chubby brother in her memory was so thin that there was not much flesh left. But at this time, she couldn't think too much of it. After dipping a cotton kerchief in wine, she wiped her brother's forehead, neck, armpits and other parts. During the process of volatilizing the wine, the heat from his body was taken away. This way to cool down is what Xia Jiwei saw in a booklet of her mother's dowry in her previous life. The only thing that came into her hands were those books. She kept them and accompanied her through 10 years of limbo. Obviously the room was filled with chill, but within a short while, her forehead was covered with sweat. Time passed unknowingly, and I don't know how long it took. Xia Mingxi calmed down slowly, and the redness on his little face faded a little. Xia Jiwei took Xia Mingxi's pulse again, and when the pulse stabilized a little, she was relieved just now. Sister. Xia Mingxi slightly opened his black and white eyes. His original bright eyes were a little confused, but when he saw Xia Jiwei, his eyes lit up a little, and a little smile appeared on his small face. Looking very weak, his lips moved, trying to say something, but his throat was so sore that he couldn't open his mouth. Xia Jiwei held Xia Mingxi's hand tightly, and seeing the joy in his eyes, tears blurred her eyes. Brother, it will be fine, sister will not let you have an accident. Seeing this, Yuan couldn't help covering his face with a handkerchief and sobbing. Xia Jiwei asked someone to bring a thin quilt to cover Xia Mingxi's body. The smell of alcohol in the room was almost gone, so she asked someone to close the window. My sister is going to give you an injection, but it doesn't hurt, so don't be afraid, okay? Xia Mingxi responded softly, staring at Xia Jiwei with his eyes, for fear that she would disappear by accident. Although he was sleepy, he refused to close his eyes. My sister will accompany you. You close your eyes. When you recover from your illness, my sister will make honey osmanthus cake for you to eat. Xia Mingxi grinned, his beautiful eyes seemed to be filled with a summer night sky full of stars. The stars were shining, very beautiful. After all, it took a lot of energy, and after getting her sister's assurance, she was very sleepy again. Xia Mingxi closed her eyes and fell asleep. Her breathing was still short, and she made a whirring sound, but her body temperature dropped a lot, and her pulse became more stable. Xia Jiwei began to insert needles. After protecting the heart veins with needles one after another, Xia Jiwei asked someone to fetch candles and moxa sticks. After lighting the moxa sticks, he used the moxa sticks to moxabust the acupuncture points on Xia Mingxi's body. People in the room couldn't understand this, but seeing Xia Jiwei calm and confident, everyone followed suit, and Yuan Shi looked at the two children intently. Today's update. End of this chapter. Chapter 12. Punish Slave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 12. Slave Punishment. The room was very quiet, and people who came in and out were walking on tiptoe, not daring to make any noise. After a while, the smell of alcohol in the room was gradually covered by the scent of wormwood, with a magical power that made people relax involuntarily. After taking Xia Mingxi's pulse just now, Xia Jiwei knew that Xia Mingxi just had a cold, but the cold was very lingering and stubborn. 4 days ago, Xia Mingxi recovered, so Yuan dared to go out with confidence. That day, Yuan Shi didn't come back. Xia Mingxi's illness recurred, and the fever lasted for 3 days. If it was a little later, Xia Mingxi would not die, leaving one life, just like the previous life, burning his brain and becoming mentally retarded. Xia Jiwei didn't dare to think about it, and she blamed herself endlessly. If it wasn't for the fact that Yuan sent someone to pick her up for the chance of becoming the queen, she should have returned, and her brother would not have suffered such a serious crime. Mother, I said the prescription, you write it. Xia Jiwei mock Sebastian the acupuncture points, not too close, but not too far away. Okay. Yuan Shi was a little at a loss. When the maid brought the pen and ink, her hand holding the pen was shaking. 4 qian of ephedra, 2 qian of cinnamon twig, 2 qian of roasted licorice, 6 qian of almond, 3 qian of ginger, 10 pieces of jujube, 5 qian of raw gypsum. After Xia Jiwei finished speaking, he paused for a long time, and added 3 herbs, 3 qian of silkworm sand, 4 qian of bamboo root, and 3 qian of tangerine peel. Mother Tian, that you can grab this medicine yourself, go outside. Yuan is not stupid either. Hearing that Xia Jiwei said that he was going to be arrested outside, he couldn't help but gasped when he thought of something. There is a doctor in the family and there are medicinal materials in reserve, but after the medicine is caught, Xia Jiwei will definitely check it out himself. Naturally, no one can hide it from her. If there is a problem, it will delay the matter. It is better to let Tian Nanny go outside to buy it. Don't worry, big girl. The servants will go to Huachuntang to get medicine. That store has a good reputation and doesn't sell fake medicines. Xia Jiwei thought about who was behind that house, and couldn't help but bend her lips into a smile. After seeing the prescription with her own eyes, she just nodded and told Nanny Tian to go as soon as possible. It didn't take much effort to grab the medicine. Xia Jiwei checked the medicinal materials and found that there was no problem. Tian Nanny quickly went to decoct the medicine again. A clay stove was set up under the eaves of the corridor, and the fragrance of the medicine came in through the cracks in the window, faintly. After a while, Nanny Tian brought over the hot medicinal soup. Xia Jiwei pulled out the needle, woke Xia Mingxi up and drank the medicinal soup. The little guy's eyelids were fighting, he managed to finish his drink, and fell asleep again. His breathing was much calmer, and his body was profusely sweating. Seeing the danger retreat. After 2 hours, feed him the second bowl. Xia Jiwei raised his hand to wipe the sweat from his forehead, and continued to give Xia Mingxi moxibustion. Time passed unknowingly, and Xia Jiwei didn't extinguish it until Ai Zhu burned 2/3, and gave Xia Mingxi another pulse, and the pulse was normal, so she was relieved. Mei Mei, is your brother better? Yuan Shi held back until now before asking. On the bed, Xia Mingxi's whole body seemed to be picked up from the water, soaked through. Sweating meant that the fever was gone, and he slept soundly, snoring lightly. Prepare hot water and underwear, Nanny Tian, help my brother scrub it, don't wake him up for now, let him sleep well. Xia Jiwei looked up at Yuan Shi. Mother, don't worry, as long as you take good care of him, my brother will not something's up. Yuan is full of confidence in Xia Jiwei, but she is still very happy to hear her say that. As if she had taken a reassurance, she breathed a sigh of relief. Xia Jiwei let go of her suspended heart at this time. She stood up abruptly, her legs gave way, and she almost fell down, but fortunately, Nanny Tian was quick and supported her. Xia Jiwei stabilized his mind, let go of Nanny Tian's hand, and walked towards Mingjian. Where's Lian Yang? Xia Jiwei stood in the middle of the room and asked in a cold voice. It was only then that everyone remembered that as Xia Mingxi's nursing mother Lian Yang, the 5th young master became so ill, didn't she know? This high fever doesn't happen in a short while. 5th young master, how are you doing? Why hasn't the doctor come to treat 5th young master yet? Miss, when will the doctor come? I am worried about 5th young master. Lian Yang came in from outside the house, covering her face with her handkerchief. It was like mourning, crying so hard that my body almost fell to the ground. Xia Ji looked at her slightly coldly, seeing that she didn't look scared at all, suddenly became angry, raised his hand, and slapped her hard across the face. With a slap, this slap accumulated the hatred of past and present lives. Lian Yang's body fell to the side and fell on the ground, her ears were buzzing, she looked at Xia Jiwei, her eyes were full of gold stars. People inside and outside the room were stunned. No one thought that the big girl who was always soft and easy to talk to would actually have a time to fight. Where is Autumn Mark? Where is it? At the door, a maidservant wearing a red silk jacket, a water-green skirt, and a green satin waistcoat staggered in through the door, knelt down on the lichen with a plop, and cried, "Girl, slave girl, these 2 days I'm not feeling well, I didn't take care of the 5th young master, my servant. Since you are not well, let's sell them all." Xia Jiwei said coldly, if she taught these 2 lowly maidservants a lesson, she would not be afraid of pain in her hands if her brother could get better. Big girl, it's not up to a big girl to sell slaves and maidservants. Lian Yang's head stopped buzzing, she came to her senses, got up from the ground, straightened her chest, raised her chin, and demonstrated to Xia Jiwei. Mother Chiu took a cup of tea, handed it to Xia Jiwei, helped Xia Jiwei to sit down on the chair, and said slowly, "Miss, how can the master teach the servants by himself? These useless things are handed over to the servants. That's it, there's no need to hurt the girl's hand." Xia Jiwei picked up the teacup and took a sip. Tiguanyan's thick, mellow, soft, sweet and mellow taste relieved some of the restlessness in her heart. "It's sold out. What are you still doing in a daze? You can't hear what the eldest girl is saying, are you deaf?" Mother Chiu stood at the door, with her hands folded in front of her belly, her eyes were sharp, and she had an imposing manner. However, people inside and outside did not move. Lian Yang saw it and sneered, she knew what these people were afraid of, she belonged to the old lady after all, if a girl beats a dog, it depends on the owner, who dares to touch her. Lian Yang looked around at the crowd, puffed her chest out, and said arrogantly, "Miss looks down on the servant girl, and the servant girl will go back to the old lady right now. The eldest girl should think about it. If the old lady asks, the servant girl must tell the truth. This is even threatening her." Xia Ji sneered slightly, and glanced at Mother Chiu, winking. "What are you waiting for? Don't fight yet." As soon as Nanny Chiu finished speaking, 4 women with big arms and round waists came in from the door, one left and one right clamped Lian Yang and Chiohan, and one of them asked, "Miss, how many boards are you playing?" Ms. Yuan opened the curtain and came out from the inside, for such a thing, ask the eldest girl what to do. These 2 lowly maidservants are neglecting their duties. Beat me to death. Please ask for the ticket, is there anyone reading it? End of this chapter. Chapter 13. Mother, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 13. Mother Xia Jiwei's nose soured. She was not afraid of getting a reputation for being harsh on servants, but Yuan sure didn't allow her to ruin her own reputation. "Take it a little farther away." Yuan sure ordered, walked to Xia Jiwei's side, and stroked her shoulder, "Your brother is still guarded by his mother. This time, it was the mother who was negligent and caused your brother to suffer a lot. Don't worry, my mother won't be there in the future." Xia Jiwei couldn't hold it back, tears blurred his eyes in an instant, who said stepmother must be bad. In the previous life, the younger brother became a fool, and the mother comforted her heart from time to time while feeling sad, although at that time, she didn't care much about whether her brother was stupid or not. Later, the father accepted the 2nd bedroom and entered the door. The mother resisted the provocation of the 2nd bedroom, but at the same time refused to defend her. She was devoted to helping her find a good husband. She was accused of marrying Xiao Chongxian. The dowry is solid and generous. It turned out that her mother secretly saved it for her when she didn't know it. Mother said that if her biological mother Cui Shi was still there, she would definitely have prepared better for her, with red makeup, which would make the noble girls in the capital envy for many years. The mother in front of me has fair skin, a pair of dark almond eyes like blue smoke and autumn water, and pink lips. She is the most beautiful and most luxuriant girl in her youth. Xia Jiwei seems to have seen the previous life in a daze. Since then, my mother has obviously not had the time to spend in Huaxin, but she has gray hair between her temples. She later heard from Mother Chiu, who occasionally returned to the mansion, that her mother always asked someone to inquire how she was doing in the fourth prince's mansion. Brother, don't forget to take care of your sister, learn your skills, and support your sister. Mother. Xia Jiwei buried her head in Yuan Shi's arms, sobbing. She suppressed her crying, but still frightened Yuan Shi. Mei Mei, what's wrong with you? Yuan raised her hands, not daring to touch Xia Jiwei. Mei Mei had never been close to her. Mei Mei is her baby name. After hearing her father yell at once, her mother yelled after her and never changed it. How could she have such a good mother? How much she longed for the opportunity to tell her mother that even if her mother was still alive, the dowry prepared for her might not be as good. Yuan still hugged Xia Jiwei into her arms, saw her crying sadly, her little face was pale, thought she was sick, she couldn't help but panic. Mei Mei, mother heard that the doctor doesn't treat herself, you must be sick, let's treat her. The doctor of Huichun Hall, please come in and help you take a look. Mom, I'm fine, I'm just tired. Hurry up and take the eldest girl back to the courtyard. Yuan Shi knew that Xia Jiwei was very particular, and her Yizhao courtyard was at the back of Fuyin courtyard, not far from here, so she didn't dare to leave Xia Jiwei in Fuyin courtyard. Rest. Xia Jiwei was indeed exhausted. After she fell into the water, she didn't take a good rest. The Empress's condition was already dangerous. I can't stand it anymore. Xia Jiwei leaned into Yuan Shi's arms, and she lost consciousness. She only vaguely felt that someone was hugging her on the spring stool, and the women carried her to her own yard staggeringly. During this sleep, Xia Jiwei slept soundly and peacefully, and did not wake up until about 1 o'clock. She was in her boudoir, with a feeling of familiarity and strangeness. On her head was a mosquito net embroidered with green and double-embroidered flowers and grass insects. On the four corners was a sachet with carved copper and carved blessings. Inside was the tranquilizing incense she made herself. Is so real. Hearing the movement, Zmo said to the outside, girl is up, then came in, and called out softly. After Xia Ji responded slightly, he raised the curtain, girl, Mother Chiu left something for Lian Yang in Chiu Hen. In one breath, no one was beaten to death. Chunhui Hall received a letter, and the old lady sent a message, asking Mother Chiu to see her. I'm also going to pay my respects to the old lady. My cousin has gone back to Shui's house. Who will accompany the old lady for dinner today? Xia Jiwei stood up. Zmo helped the girl to dress, and replied neatly, the old lady eats alone, and she didn't ask the ladies to serve her. The second girl was going to serve her, so she was dismissed. The old lady seemed very angry. Xia Ji smiled, I think grandma is expecting me to serve her dinner, let Bai Ling go and find out, has the old man returned home? Zmo said in her heart that the old lady could still eat 2 mouthfuls, but now that the eldest girl is gone, she might be so angry that she can't even drink her tea. Feng Shi has never suffered such a big setback. In her whole life, the biggest anger she has suffered is probably to become Xia Jiao's successor and wait for Xia Jiao to honor his dead wife for 3 years. Nanny, you explained everything about Funyuan. Mrs. Chiu is really ruthless. She only left Lianyang and Chiuhan a sigh of relief. This is because we dare not report to the officials. Woolen cloth. Feng held a Jihong tureen in her hand, trembling so much that the cover slammed on the bowl and thought, the veins in her hands popped out, this is not beating Lianyang and Chiuhan, this is clearly show me off. Thinking of the granddaughter who was sent back to Shui's family, Feng's heart was bleeding, and he was so angry that his 7 orifices smoked. I still don't know how her granddaughter returned to Shui's house, how she was tortured by her good stepmother. I don't know what Xiao Shi will say in front of Mrs. Shui. Feng was so worried that she couldn't eat, but at this time, Xia Jiwei deliberately tossed about these things again, and she didn't usually see her loving her brother so much, it was obvious that she was deliberately confronting her. Nanny, you said as she patted the old lady's back. The eldest girl is relying on tomorrow to enter the palace. Just put up with her for a day. The little girl's family thinks that the Empress is really a backer for her and supports her. When she comes back from the palace tomorrow, she will still be there. It's not up to you, that's what I said, but anger is not so easy to bear. Thinking about it, Mrs. Foam regretted it. Why did she just leave the two of them in the temple that day to study, and brought them back to study, and shut them up at home? There is no taboo. Foam didn't have time to think about it. When she heard the maid outside calling "Old Master," she quickly waved her hands, arranged her clothes, and got up to greet her. Xia Jiwei spent some time washing, and accompanied by Zmo, she walked slowly towards Chunhui Hall. She only sped up her pace a little when she heard Bai Ling said that the old man had already left the office. Chunhui Hall is the main courtyard of the Xia family and the residence of the Foam family. The Foam family gave birth to 2 sons and a daughter. After the daughter married into the Shui family, Shui Wanqing died of illness at the age of 6. The 2 sons were the 2nd master and the 4th master, and the 3rd master was a concubine. The old man is about 40 or 50 years old, wearing a straight blue silk gown, with a thin body and warm eyebrows, holding a red and white bamboo tureen in his hand, using the tureen to gently shake the tea leaves. His movements are gentle, and his gestures reveal the nobility and leisure of a noble family. Before the old man had eaten, Mrs. Foam passed on the dinner, and the maids were setting up tables and chairs to set up the meal. The smell of food was wafting in the air, and the atmosphere in Chunhui Hall also improved. Mrs. Foam was talking to the old man about the birthday of the old lady of the Shui family, when she heard the maid outside open the curtain and said, "The big girl is here." Foam frowned. "Ask for votes, please collect." End of this chapter. Chapter 14. Know you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 14. Know or not, granddaughter greets grandparents and grandparents. Xia Jiwei walked in, and after saluting, he said straight to the point, "Grandmother, granddaughter is here, I have something I want to ask." Xia Jiao put down the teacup in his hand, looked at Xia Jiwei, knowing that she had just found out that she was there, so she came here just now, so she asked, "If you have anything to say, just say it." "Grandmother, since Lian Yang and Chilhan belong to grandma, they neglected their duties while their mother and granddaughter were not at home, and almost cost my younger brother's life. Does grandma know about this?" Foam was annoyed for a while, and she couldn't breathe for a long time. She heard about the uproar in Fuyun courtyard, but she didn't ask about it. Xia Jiwei came to the door herself. Is she looking at herself and there is nothing she can do now? It's a big deal. Tomorrow the mansion will send someone to help her sue the Empress in front of the Empress, saying that she is in poor health. Sure enough, she is a widow and eldest daughter, and she has no education. It is no wonder that there are 3 ways to discuss relatives, one of which is not to discuss the widow and eldest daughter. I heard that the 5th elder brother is ill, and you are sure and you won't let the doctor in the mansion see him. If something happens, can you afford it? Feng Sure has always been willing to put on a show in front of the old man, but today I can't bear it anymore. My brother has been ill for half a month, and my granddaughter has also seen the previous pulse case. The medicine used is not lukewarm, and there are 1 or 2 offensive medicines in it. No wonder there is a little cold, and it has been delayed for more than 10 days. It's not getting better. Today, if the granddaughter and mother come back 1 step later, the younger brother may be. Grandmother, the younger brother is sick like this, does the grandmother not know? Xia Jiao's face was so dark that it was about to drip water. He looked at Feng Sure, his dark eyes were terribly calm. Xia Jiao knew that the Feng family had always disliked the Long House, but there was nothing he could do if he didn't like it. Since he had decided to marry into the Xia family, he had to be prepared to be a stepmother. He never expected that the Feng family would treat the Long House as his own, but the honor and status that the Long House should not be affected. The 5th brother is the eldest son and grandson of the Xia family. He will be the heir and grandson of the Xia family in the future, and there is no room for mistakes. The veins in Feng's hand holding shibatsu were bulging, her whole body was tense, complex emotions rushed towards her, anger and fear were intertwined, and she couldn't suppress her breath. Miss Wei, who told you to be with me like this? Did the elders speak? Xie Jiao never asked about matters in the inner courtyard. This is the rule of the aristocratic family, and it is also Xie Jiao's respect for her. If Xie Jiwei was a boy, she might not be able to take care of it. Xie Jiwei is a daughter's family. As a grandmother, it is her responsibility to discipline her. Grandmother, my granddaughter is the eldest daughter of the Xie family. My mother is from the Chui family. I know how to write the word education. If the grandmother is responsible for her younger brother, the granddaughter has nothing to say, and she is willing to accept the punishment she deserves for today's behavior. The granddaughter asked the grandmother again, did the grandmother know that the younger brother was sick? The servants neglected the younger brother and something happened, did the grandmother know? This is a forced question, no matter how good Feng's education is, he can't bear this tone. But in this matter, she was indeed at fault. She vaguely remembered that someone from Fuyun court had reported that the fifth elder brother had a fever, repeatedly. She was angry these days, and she didn't pay much attention when she heard it. Mo also deserved it, who let him have such a sister. Every family with a child has a cold, cough, and stomachache. It is a common thing. If you can keep it, it is fate. Feng pretended to be calm and said calmly, you also know that your second aunt is in charge of this big family now, and your second aunt sent your cousin to Shue's house, and I don't know if she's back, I'll ask tomorrow. As she said that, she looked at the old man, fifth brother, this child, for some reason, has been sick every 3 days. The doctor at home also sees a doctor like this, and the other brothers and sisters are cured with 2 doses of medicine, it will take a long time to get to Wu Gear's place. Xie Jiwei chuckled, who is he taking for a fool? So you want to change the subject? Grandmother, my grandparents in the Chui family have famous doctors for generations. When my mother married into Xie's family, she gave some other dowry as dowry. The granddaughter doesn't know, but there are boxes and boxes of medical books. I can recite everything back and forth. The Empress left her granddaughter to accompany her at Feimin Temple this time because of this reason. Grandmother, the doctor in the house has a lot of skills, but he can't hide it from his granddaughter's eyes. Feeling the old man's sharp eyes, Feng's heart skipped a beat, and she was inevitably flustered. You say that, the doctor in this house is really serious. When your second aunt comes back, I will ask her to invite him away. Hire someone who is useful. Doctor is the same thing, Grandma, the servant who served my younger brother in Fuyun courtyard should not be treated lightly. Today, Lianyang is still threatening her granddaughter, saying that she was given by her grandmother, and her granddaughter has no right to punish her. Grandma, should the deeds of prostitution of the servants of Fuyun Academy and Qizhou Academy be handed over to my mother? The veins on Feng's forehead twitched, she hated Xiao Shi in her heart, she was such an idiot. Xie Jiwei caught such a big handle on the fifth brother without saying anything. Old lady, in my servant's opinion, the people in the 2 courtyards of the eldest lady and the eldest girl should also be tidied up. You are not strong now, and you really can't get out. Why don't you hand it over to the eldest lady? If the eldest lady still can't persuade you, come on, if you help beat and knock, the long house should be set up to take care of things. Feng Shi breathed a sigh of relief. In this way, it was not her fault that she held the deeds of prostitution of the servants of the Long House in her hands. It was because the Long House couldn't stand up by itself, and Yuan Shi couldn't even subdue a servant. Yuan Shi was a marriage that the Chui family helped to bring about back then. No matter how much the old master blamed her, he couldn't blame her. Go and get the deed of sale. Nurse Yu hurried into Dong Xiao room and soon came out, holding a red lacquered square box with gold blessing pattern in her hand, and handed it to Xie Jiwei. Xie Jiwei glanced at it, but didn't answer it. Behind her, ZMO hurriedly stepped forward to catch the box, and then retreated behind her. Compared to ZMO, Nanny Yu's behavior is too inappropriate. How can there be any reason to hand over things directly to the master? Xie Jiwei glanced at Feng Shi with a smile that was not a smile, as if he was expressing with actions, who could not stand up. Feng Shi also understood, his face felt like he had been slapped, and the pain was burning. Xie Tiao took a deep look at Feng Shi. Since you are in poor health, I think the eldest daughter in law is not bad, so let the eldest daughter in law help the second daughter in law share part of the burden. In the future, the family will always be handed over to the eldest house. Feng's face froze. It was not just beating. Xie Tiao didn't care what Feng Shi was thinking. He was not afraid that Feng Shi would not agree. He got up and stroked his sleeves, and said, "Miss Wei, you are in a hurry to come here, you should have not eaten yet, and I haven't seen you for a long time. You have spoken, stay and have dinner with me and your grandmother. Ask for votes." End of this chapter. Chapter 15. Eccentric. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 15. Eccentricity. The grandparents and grandchildren ate together around the table. Although the Xie family had many rules, they did not have a complete eating without speaking rule. During the dinner, Xie Tiao asked Yu to give her the vegetable cloth that Xie Jiwei had looked at a few times. It can be said that Xie Jiwei, the granddaughter, is very important. Feng's eyes hurt when he looked at it. When his granddaughter was around, the old man almost never asked, and he never had a meal at the same table. The old man's eccentricity can be said to be undisguised. After dinner, it's already dark, so hurry up. Xie Tiao didn't ask people to send Xie Jiwei back immediately, but left her to talk for a while, all about medical skills, both sophisticated and curious. I have memorized all the medical books for my family's dowry. At first, I just wanted to ask a few questions, but Xie Jiwei brought him too many surprises. This granddaughter has amazing talents in medicine. Xie Jiwei helped the old man get a peace pulse, and pointed out several physical problems of the old man. He couldn't sleep well at night. Whenever the weather changed, he would cough for half an hour at Insher and couldn't sleep. In winter, Zisher after that, the hands and feet will gradually warm up. The doctors in the mansion have considered several prescriptions, but none of them have much effect after the old man took them. Grandfather, if you just rely on the pulse condition, there is nothing serious about your grandfather's health. Presumably the prescriptions prescribed by the doctor are mostly for nourishing qi and blood, calming the fire in the lungs, nourishing yin and nourishing yang, so the effect is not great. If the medicine is right for the symptoms, it is good medicine. If not suitable for the symptoms, will not only fail to cure the disease, but will also harm the body. Therefore, when Zaiji, a great physician in the former dynasty, once said in Wen's medical records of cough, it is not difficult to use medicine, but it is difficult to verify it. Xie Tiao stroked his beard and nodded slowly. In your opinion, how should grandfather be cured? Grandfather is fine, so naturally he doesn't need treatment, but granddaughter can prescribe a medicinal prescription for grandfather's body. Within 3 days, these symptoms of grandfather will be relieved. After using this autumn, there will be no recurrence in the future. Xie Tiao smiled happily. This granddaughter, he hadn't realized before, was so understanding of people's hearts. He was extremely happy when he said, "No harm. When you are old, who wants to hear others say that you are sick?" Feng's complexion is very ugly. She has been married to Xie Tiao for more than 20 years and knows him best. Xie Tiao seems to be smiling and gentle, like a jade, but in fact he has the most indifferent and alienated temperament. Except for Xie Jiwei, I have never seen Xie Tiao treat anyone so gently. Then I'll wait for Sister Wei to help me recuperate my body. Xie Tiao didn't feel that his granddaughter was too big, but rather appreciated her self-confidence. Feng Shi was trembling with anger. Xie Tiao was too biased. They were all his granddaughters. Shui Wanqing was born of their only daughter, although Xie Zhihui had a bit of a temper, Xie Tiao also said that this granddaughter had a real temperament, but she didn't, seeing that Xie Tiao cares so much about other granddaughters. Seeing that it was getting late at night, Xie Zhihui got up and said, "Goodbye, grandfather, although you are busy with official duties, you should rest earlier on weekdays. There are times when you live in your husband's bedroom, and you should eat moderately, have a moderate amount of leisure and work, and have no suffering." Xie Tiao was stunned for a moment, and then laughed out loud. He only knew today that his granddaughter is really a wonderful person. Xie Tiao was respected as the leader of scholars. How could he not know that Xie Zhihui changed the original words in Confucius family language? Confucius's family discourse Hui. Where the husband sleeps frequently, eats improperly, and overworks, the disease will kill them together. Feng's face was gloomy. She endured for a long time, and was about to order Nanny Yu to send her back, when she saw her look over with half a smile and reminded, "Grandmother, don't forget about my mother's dowry. Take an inventory, when it is ready, order someone to send the account book to my yard." Bang dang. The 18.Z bracelet in Feng's hand fell to the ground, the string broke, and the beads rolled all over the floor. Nanny Yu hurriedly bent down to pick up the beads. Xie Zhihui glanced at the ground. She knew that Feng Shi loved this bracelet very much. She didn't dare to help, fearing that Feng Shi would get extremely angry and ruin the good bracelet, so she bent her knees, turned and left. Xie Tiao's eyes fell on the beads. His voice was so calm that there was no sound in the ancient well. He didn't ask anything, but Feng wished that he could ask a question. Feng waited until Mammy Yu had picked up almost all the beads before she breathed out, "Miss Wei, the older she gets, the more impatient she becomes. I, as a grandmother, will help her take care of her mother's dowry. What is she worried about? Is it possible that I am still ignorant?" Xie Tiao looked at Feng Shi, still silent, but his gaze was still terrifyingly calm. He just looked at it like this, and Feng Shi was so nervous that he couldn't breathe. In these years, although Xie Tiao respected her more than he loved her, he never felt sorry for her. There has never been such a time. "Old man, what are you doing looking at me like this?" "The emperor has made a decree to order the Cui family to become an official. Someone from the Cui family will soon enter the capital." When the Cui family married into the Xie family, the eldest daughter of the Cui family was the wife of the Xie family. "Don't be afraid, just give it a try. If it wasn't for Cui's short life, how could the Xie family have come to this point?" The eldest son was named on the gold list at the age of 17, and the bridal chamber was decorated with candles. He had two major happy events in his life, and he had them every year. Later, Cui fell ill and died before the Cui family's miracle doctor came. Although the eldest son continued to marry, he no longer had any interest in official career, and later simply abandoned literature and joined the military. "After going to the frontier, I didn't come back for 5 years." "Old man, how can you say such a thing? You don't trust me, you think I will also be ignorant of Cui's dowry." The old lady felt chills. "You said this. If you have no regrets, why do you care what I say?" After Xie Tiao finished speaking, he flicked his sleeves, walked out with his hands behind his back, leaving only a ruthless back view. Feng Shi watched Xie Tiao's back disappear behind the curtain. She was so angry that she almost vomited blood, her eyes went dark, and she fell on the arhat bed. Nurse Yu panicked and hurriedly wanted to call the doctor. Feng Shi slowed down, waved her hand, and stopped her. "Don't let people think that I'm just putting on a show. Who dares to say that the old lady is acting?" Nanny Yu knew that the old lady was afraid that the old man would think so. "Old lady, is it possible that the old man really thinks so?" Nanny Yu couldn't believe it. Feng knew that the old man never said a word. What kind of person is he? And there are times when he is led by the nose. The Xie family has been passed down for more than 100 years. When she married in the past, there were millions of silver deposits in the public house alone. She was really shocked. Later, slowly, she realized that these aristocratic families really have profound backgrounds. My natal family's Yongchang-ho's mansion is said to be honorable, and the female relatives are required to make needlework and sell it to earn money for rouge and gouache. How much is a knighthood worth? When Cui Shi married in, the load of dowry made her feel ashamed. When she married into Xie's family, the 120.8 dowries she pieced together were nothing compared to Cui Shi's dowry. Some people can see these things. Feng stayed up all night, tossing and turning. Xie Jiwei had a good night's sleep, and the next morning, Zmo came in and said, "Young lady, you can sleep a little longer. The old lady sent someone to tell you that you don't have to go to say hello this morning." "What's the matter?" Xie Jiwei asked, half asleep, but she didn't hear what Zmo said. She turned over and fell asleep again, and woke up an hour later than usual. Today's update. Ask for votes, please support me. End of this chapter. Chapter 16. Gas disease. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 16. Qi disease. After Xie Jiwei woke up, Bai Ling was beside him, chattering about what happened in Chunhui Hall yesterday. "I heard that the old lady fell ill as soon as the old man left, and for some reason, she didn't call a doctor." Xie Ji smiled. If he invited a doctor, wouldn't he be mad by the old man? The old lady dare not. Although the dowry has not been brought back yet, it will be soon. After freshening up, Xie Jiwei went to Fuyun Courtyard. Mrs. Yuan had already returned from the hearing hall, and she was sitting in the open room drinking tea. After 2 cups of tea, she was still in a daze. Seeing Xie Jiwei coming, Yuan Shi hurriedly got up. "Mei, you are here. Early this morning, just after Mao o'clock, your second aunt sent someone to invite your mother, saying that she was the middle-aged son of the family in the future, and asked her to come with her. How is this going? I heard that the old lady's health has been bad. The middle class at home should be the mother's burden. The second aunt can't take care of it by herself. In the future, the mother should pay more attention to the middle class, so as not to let the middle class go. People say that the mother should be the shopkeeper." Ms. Yuan was stunned. The conscience of heaven and earth. It wasn't that she didn't care, but the old lady didn't let her interfere at all. Those people outside, who didn't know the ins and outs, arranged her like this. Seeing that Yuan's heart was moved, Xie Jiwei hit the iron while the iron was hot. "Grandpa also said yesterday that this family will eventually be handed over to the Long House in the future, and the second aunt is helping now, so we can't keep bothering the second aunt. However, in this way, I will work my mother in the future." "Where?" Yuan Shi hurriedly waved her hand. "When I married in that day, I also knew that I was going to come in to be a housekeeper. I also learned how to be a housekeeper, so I am not as skilled as your second aunt. I am afraid of making mistakes and making people laugh." In the 2 years since Yuan Shi first entered the door, she made many jokes. She still suspects that her husband didn't want to stay in the beautiful capital, but went to the frontier because he was angry with her. My mother is not familiar with all the circumstances of the family, so she is afraid of making mistakes. In a family like ours, whether it is a festival, a big or small birthday, or an annual ceremony outside, there are always rules to follow. Act according to the old rules. Even if you can't be considerate everywhere, you will never make mistakes. If there is something my mother doesn't understand, there are still those women in charge. If they dare not be conscientious, mother can dismiss them at will. When Yuan Shi heard this, it was as if she had a bright light. She had already had her mother-in-law around her tell her that her daughter went to Chunhui Hall last night, and Xiao Shi sent someone to invite her to deal with it early this morning. Feed. Envy. Sure enough, it was Chui's daughter. She was so smart and full of heart. She couldn't bear it. Now that she has the support of this daughter, she will have the confidence in the future. Yuan breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that Xie Jiwei was helping her in this way for his brother's sake, and said, "Your brother recovered from his illness, and he didn't have a fever again last night." Xie Jiwei just came over from her younger brother, who was still asleep. She took his pulse and it was fine. She prescribed another prescription and reduced the dosage. Xia Jiwei gave Zmo a wink, and Zmo handed the box of prostitution deeds she got from the old lady to Nanny Yu. Mother, last night, when I went to pay my respects to my grandmother, I came here on purpose. I asked Zmo to pick out the contract of prostitution of Lianyang and Chilhan. After a while, Nanny Tian will let the matchmaker come and take them away. Sure enough, Yuan felt that the wives had guessed correctly. This reward was obtained by Xia Jiwei for the eldest house. Otherwise, the old lady could be so good and even give up the long house's identity. Nurse Tian hugged the box and was so happy that she didn't know what to do. She wiped away her tears. Ma'am, the eldest girl has grown up, and we will get better together in the future. God knows, after the wife came in, the servants she brought with her were found by the old lady for various reasons. Some of them were dismissed, some were sold, and now there are only a few servants left to serve her. In the fifth young master's house, there is no room for people to stay at all, and people are replaced every 3 days, otherwise such a dangerous thing would not have happened this time. Now the deed of prostitution is in our hands. Mother chooses those who can be used, and those who don't, and send them away. Even if some people are bought from outside to train them, it will be better than before. As soon as Xia Jiwei spoke, the house was quiet, except for those who devoted themselves to serving Yuan Shi. Everyone who squeezed in from other courtyards lowered their heads. Fuyin Courtyard has always been like a sieve. In the past, when Xia Yuanbai was at home, he asked for water several times a night. Now, the deeds of these people are all in the hands of Yuan Shi. Last night, there was a contest in Chunhui Hall. Now the whole family knows it. Everyone can see that the Xia family is about to change. The eldest girl is not a raccoon slave, she is clearly a tiger. The Yuan family is not useless, the Xia family has been in the hands of the old lady for more than 20 years. I have to be careful to back down, step by step, step by step. Mother knows, after dinner, mother will ask someone to call the matchmaker. Yuan Shi glanced at the yard. Some people can't stay, especially the people around Wugir, they have to change themselves no matter what. Otherwise, even Mei Mei can't sleep. Will she dislike her as a mother who is too useless? After breakfast, Yuan Shi asked someone to go to her storeroom to fetch a set of ruby dot hair masks, and replaced the white jade bead flower on Xia Jiwei's head with a ruby dot bead flower. Immediately, she was dressed in red, lotus, hibiscus, and gold. The satin skirt with makeup and the rose-scented cloud gauze skirt complement each other, adding a very bright beauty to her already bright face. As soon as the hour passed, Xia Jiwei was waiting in front of the door of the instrument. Xiao was worried and waited with her. Xia Jiwei became impatient with her, looking over and over again. Mother, my daughter just accompanied the elder sister into the palace. As long as there is no mistake in etiquette, nothing else matters. You child, how do you talk? You finally got this opportunity to enter the palace. You must let the empress treat you differently, so that you will be better in the future. Mother's words are wrong. I am the first daughter of the Xia family. As long as I don't make mistakes, no one dares to look down on me. Xia Jiwei said solemnly. Ms. Xiao was so choked that she couldn't even speak. It was her own fault. In a fit of anger, she said, you wait here alone. Mother has something else to do, so let's go first. She was afraid that if she stayed here for a while, she would be off. Just as Xiao turned around the screen wall and saw Xia Jiwei walking towards her, she suppressed her anger just now. After Xia Jiwei saluted her, she took a deep look at Xia Jiwei's attire. It was as bright as the sun, and she couldn't help feeling jealous. The long room is really rich. But right now is not the time to worry about these things, Xiao ordered. Sister Wei, your second sister will trouble you when you enter the palace. You are more sensible than her, so take care of her in everything. Xia Ji smiled and said, second aunt, you are too polite, they are all sisters from the same family, close relatives, why bother to see outsiders? Big sister, you are here, let's go. The two sisters got into the carriage. Although Xie Zhihui had a big heart, she was unavoidably nervous. On the way to the imperial city, she held Xie Zhihui's hand. Big sister, Mother Qiu told me a lot yesterday, but, in case I'm so nervous that you forgot what to do. Don't be afraid. Xie Zhihui was a concubine in her previous life, later became a princess, and later became a queen. She is most familiar with the etiquette in the palace. If you forget, you can do what you see me do. Big sister, how do you know the etiquette in the palace? Xie Zhihui tilted her head. She had a round face, skin like snow, bright eyes and vermilion lips, like light clouds covering the moon. Did you forget Mother Qiu? Xie Zhihui nodded. His second sister's nose funny. She is a heartless second sister. She never looks at people with worldly eyes. She values feelings and rules, and she has her own way, own style of conduct. In her previous life, she was in Lengong. At that time, the second sister and her husband's family returned to Xie's house. She didn't know how to go to Lengong to see her. The cloak is thin and strong, but full of energy, and said, Big sister, none of our sisters have ever met a lover. We have accumulated a lot of virtue in this life, and we must marry a good man in the next life. The Xie family does not blame you. We are a family. On Huangquan Road, we are still a family. Xie Zhihui put his arms around his younger sister, looked at her, as if he saw the stubborn person in his previous life. His eyes felt a little sore for a moment. Aunt Qiu is the dowry of the eldest aunt. She used to be an aunt in the palace, and she knows the etiquette in the palace best. I forgot. How stupid. How stupid are you? You just read too much and forgot everything else. While speaking, Xie Zhihui also forgot to be nervous. The car passed the State Bridge and went to Panlu Street. The bustling crowd heard various familiar voices. Xie Zhihui opened the curtain and looked out. On the streets on both sides, the southernmost end was an eagle shop, followed by jewelry stores, cloth shops, etc. Shops, spice shops and pharmacies. In front of the Panlu gate, chrysanthemums are used to tie up a colorful building, which is like flowers and birds, lifelike, full of fragrance, and full of prosperity. Seeing a pen and ink shop, Xie Zhihui became interested. Big sister, we come out of the palace, so there is no need to rush back, right? It may be a little late to leave the palace today. Let me go shopping with my second sister tomorrow. Just in time, she was going to prepare some health-preserving medicine for her grandfather. Okay, big sister, let's go together. Xie Zhihui felt that being able to be with her big sister would make everything she did happy. Ask for votes. Do you like it? Ask for a ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 17. Enter the palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 17. Entering the palace. When the carriage arrived at the gate of the palace, Mammy Shi was already waiting for her. Seeing the two sisters Xie Zhihui, she greeted them with a smile. The eldest princess was in a hurry, so I asked my servants to wait early. I'm sorry to trouble Mammy Shi for waiting. Nanny Shi led the two sisters past the gate of the Chuegong Hall, through the north-south long lanes, and along the way, from time to time, introduced the palaces they passed and who lived there, with a very kind attitude. Looking at the familiar palaces in front of her and walking on the floor tiles she had stepped on, Xie Zhihui saw the tragic scenes of her previous life. She clenched her fists tightly, her eyes were filled with hatred, their eyes were cold, and the scenery in front of her was also unrecognizable. Become pale. Big sister. Xie Zhihui sensed Xie Zhihui's strangeness, reached out and held her hand. Xie Zhihui came back to his senses, turned his head and smiled at her. His face turned pale. Big sister, are you nervous? Xie Zhihui whispered. Her voice was not loud, but it was enough for Nanny Shi to hear. Nanny Shi turned her head and glanced at Xie Zhihui. Xie Zhihui quickly smiled. Mommy, let's go in. I'm afraid the princess will be waiting impatiently. The empress is also looking forward to the arrival of the two girls. Don't worry, the eldest girl. Today, only 2 girls are guests in Fengji Palace. The Empress has not summoned anyone else. Xia Jiwei understood what nanny she meant. It meant that no other ladies would come. Xia Jiwei quickly calmed down, and after a while, the 3 of them came to Fengji Palace. This magnificent palace was built by the founding Emperor Taizu of Daong for his wife. It is 9 rooms wide, with carved beams and painted buildings, and heavy yellow glazed tiles. The eaves and roof of the hall are second only to the Linda Palace, and it is the Queen's residence. In the previous life, Xia Jiwei had only lived here for less than 2 years, so he had to give up. Taking a deep breath, Xia Jiwei entered the hall following the maids who went out to meet her. She lowered her head slightly, raised her skirt slightly, and stepped across the high threshold of Fengji Palace. The Empress was not in the main hall, but was resting in the East Muan Pavilion as usual, accompanied by the eldest princess, looking out the door eagerly. Xia Jiwei came in, met her eyes, and took Xia Jiwei to salute in front of the Queen. The Queen wore a golden brocade skirt with peony and dragon patterns, a double-dot layer brocade skirt with 8 auspicious phoenix patterns, and a 9-dot phoenix hairpin on her head. "Quickly flatten your body, give me a seat." The Queen raised her hand, and a maid came over to add a stool. In the room, there is a cloisonné enamel double-dot crane censer under the north window. The ambergris incense wafts from the censer, and the room is filled with an elegant and pure fragrance. The Queen, who has been paying attention to Xia Jiwei, seeing Xia Jiwei's eyes looking towards the incense burner, she also seems to look over inadvertently. After returning to the palace yesterday, she asked Nanny Shi to take a few confidants to search all the inside and outside of the palace overnight. They didn't even let go of the grass in the yard and the magnolia flowers under the south window. Incense. She knows very well that incense is a thing that cannot be separated all the year round, and she is also very careful, and has always been brought in from her natal family outside the palace. Could it be that there is something wrong with the incense? She doesn't believe it. The Queen asked Xia Jiwei a few words. During this period, the eldest princess kept winking at Xia Jiwei. "The 2 of you blinked twice, and I blinked 3 times, speaking to words that only they could understand." After a while, Qingji walked in, bent down and saluted, "Empress Empress Yunguifei is here, I want to greet Empress." The Queen's hand painted with Dan Ko accidentally slapped the skirt, and a silk thread was drawn up on the skirt. She seemed to be unknown. "Please come in." The Queen's voice was flat, without any ups and downs. Xia Jiwei looked towards the door, and a woman with a face like a lotus and a body like a willow branch came in enchantingly. She was wearing a 9-dot dragon flying phoenix bun, wearing a golden crimson gown, like a 9-dot day fairy, with a frown. A smile is soul. Stirring. When she came to the Empress, Concubine Yun took a wide look at the Empress, and she was blessed just now. "See Empress." Concubine Yun, the birth mother of the eldest prince, the good-looking concubine, she responded to the saying, looking back and smiling, "By Meisheng is born, and the 6 palaces of pink and black are colorless, which once made the king not to go to court early." Concubine Yin Gui was born noble, and she is the second daughter of Duke Lu. I heard that when the first emperor was alive, Concubine Yin Gui was originally the concubine that the Empress Dowager showed to King Xiang. Entered the prince's mansion at that time and became a side concubine. The eldest prince is now 15 years old, and Xia Jiwei heard about these past events when he was in the cold palace in his previous life. "Oh, where did these 2 beauties like Yutuan come from? Look up and let me see." Xia Jiwei hurriedly came over with Xia Jiwei to bow to Concubine Yun. "Ms. Xia Jiwei, Hui, sees the imperial concubine. Free gift." Concubine Yun took a closer look at Xia Jiwei and Xia Jiwei. "Are these 2 girls from Dali Temple Qing Xia's family?" "Yes." Xia Jiwei replied respectfully. "Your father is Xia Yuanbai." Ben Gong remembers that he was the prostitute in the 2nd year of Shokong. He straddled the streets and saw all the flowers in Beijing in one day. Later, why did he abandon literature and pursue martial arts? Imperial concubine, the courtiers were young at that time, so I don't know. Concubine Yingui was stunned for a while, and then laughed, "You are a sharp talking child." After talking and laughing for a while, Concubine Yingui asked the queen, "Empress, my concubine heard that you are sick." Xie Jiwei raised her head in shock, and glanced at the imperial concubine. This was the first time she saw the imperial concubine. In the previous life, when she became the crown princess and began to pay attention to the affairs in the palace, the noble concubine had already lost both sides in the fight with the queen, the noble concubine had gone, and the eldest prince was imprisoned. Xie Jiwei finds it hard to imagine, how could a person who speaks so directly, without turning a corner, think of drugging the empress? At that time, there was an old man in the cold palace who said that Duke Lu had the merits of following the dragon, and the emperor would definitely agree. The empress's originally calm eyes were full of complex emotions, and she held the handkerchief tightly in her hands. "Did you hear who said that Ben Gong was ill? Wouldn't it be nice if the empress was safe?" Who did the concubine hear? It sounds like Concubine Ningda's voice. The concubine frowned and thought for a while. The concubine didn't intend to come to see the empress, but I heard that the empress is sick, so I came to see her. The eldest princess tilted her head, pretending to be innocent and authentic. Didn't concubine Yinmu become a spy for concubine Ning to spy on the empress? This is really true. Concubine Yingui turned to the maid beside her and asked, "Do you know who was with concubine Ningda at that time?" Even if the imperial concubine was worried that she would be used as a gun, she shouldn't ask her maid in front of the queen. The maid thought for a while, "If you go back to your empress, this servant didn't see that there are other empresses. Ask for votes and comments. The ranking has been unable to go up, so anxious." End of this chapter. Chapter 18. Meet you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 18. Encounter. While talking, Qingji came in again to report, Empress, concubine Ningda and concubine Jingrong come together to greet Empress. The empress said in a strange tone, "Since I'm sick, please ask them to come back. I don't have to come here for this month. I need to rest assured to recuperate." Su was to prove her innocence. The noble concubine said, "The empress is also here to visit the sick. Since the concubine can come in, if you don't allow concubine Ningda and concubine Jingrong to come, it will not be good for his majesty to hear. Since the empress is ill, let the two younger sisters come in to serve the sick." The queen thought for a while, "Please come in." Different from the enchanting concubine, concubine Jingrong is soft and timid, like a branch of pear blossom sticking out of the corner of the wall in the rain of apricot blossoms in 3 springs. Her brows and eyes are full of delicacy, her voice and appearance are also gentle, almost a face. Face can easily make people feel good. But Xie Jiwei knows, where is there a living bodhisattva in the palace? Concubine Jingrong's father was the imperial college Jizhou. The third prince in the previous life was good at calligraphy. He had frequent cultural events and was quite famous. Walking on concubine Jingrong's right is concubine Ningda. She is gorgeous and cold, like a snow lotus branch blooming on the top of a snow mountain, with a pair of red phoenix eyes that are majestic but not revealing, and 2 willow-leaf eyebrows like a smoke cage on a cold mountain. It is like a chrysanthemum in 9 autumns, and it has a unique beauty in the harem. Xie Jiwei's eyes flashed a coldness. Concubine Ningda was also her mother-in-law in her previous life, and the mother of the 4th prince. Concubine Ningda is well-read in poetry and books, kind-hearted, upright and generous in her actions. Among the government and the public, she has the reputation of concubine Guanyin, but only Xie Jiwei knows that the person in front of her has a face that is used to putting on airs, like an actor generally good at acting, with the coldest heart, turning his face and being ruthless. She still remembered that Ningshi once said to her, "Thinking about how the emperor treated you badly back then. I'm afraid that even I, a mother, will be compared." Now the emperor treats you like this, do you know why? You can't win over me. To live in the emperor's heart, the queen's position is occupied in vain, the AI family can't do anything about it. At that moment, Xia Jiwei knew that in front of this mother and son, she might not be able to escape the ending of, the cunning rabbit dies, the running dog cooks, but unfortunately, it was too late, she failed to keep the Xia family, the only thing she could do it is to accumulate strength for revenge. After saluting, the queen seemed a little helpless. I just came back from Feynman Temple yesterday. I wanted to have a good rest for a day. I didn't intend to talk to you. Yuan Jia invited the girl from Xia's family to play, and I said see you, and you are here. The queen really didn't expect these people to come, it's better than God. However, since she is here, she also has the benefits of being here, so she also just wanted to see who was doing the tricks. I thought it was a noble concubine before, but now it doesn't look like it. It turns out to be a girl from the Xia family. She looks really cute. Concubine Ningde waved to Xia Jiwei and the sisters, and the two passed by. Concubine Ningde rolled up her sleeves and took off a pair of red coral beaded bracelets for the two sisters. Let's watch people play. A strange fragrance came out from Concubine Ningde's sleeve cage. Xia Jiwei took a deep breath, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Seeing this, the imperial concubine rewarded a pair of Fu Lu Shou 3-color jadeite bracelets, and Zheng Rongfei pulled out a pair of red hairpins on her head and gave them to the two sisters respectively. If an ordinary lady enters the palace, these ladies will not appreciate it. Since the queen has spoken and is the playmate of the eldest princess, they will play by ear. Xia Jiwei knows this truth. After the two sisters thanked each other, the queen said, "It's really hard for you little girls to sit here and talk to us. The sweet-scented osmanthus in the imperial garden is blooming well now. Yuan Jia, you accompany the two girls to the imperial garden. Walk in the garden and smell the fragrance." Yuan Jia was worried about the queen, but the queen had already spoken, so she had no choice but to get up. "Yes, Mother Queen." Xia Jiwei and his second younger sister got up together, thanked the queen and all the empresses, and followed Yuan Jia out of the palace gate. Xia Jiwei could almost count how many trees and flowers there were in the imperial garden, but Xia Jiwei had never been there before, and she was eager to try, and there was a rare look of curiosity on her dignified face on weekdays, and a pair of black grape-like eyes sparkled shining brightly. The imperial garden in autumn is colorful, and the green pines and cypresses are dotted with gradual golden yellow. The sky is high and the clouds are far away. "Sister Wei, let's go to Qingrui Pavilion to play. I heard that a few days ago, there were some new koi carps in the south. They are healthy and handsome, colorful, with changeable patterns and majestic swimming. I haven't seen them yet." Yuan Jia introduced. Seeing Xia Jihui's eyes light up again, Xia Ji smiled hurriedly, "Okay." Qingrui Pavilion is built on a single-hole stone bridge. Under the stone bridge is a pool of clear water with elegant water lilies and swimming koi. The most beautiful time to appreciate Qingrui Pavilion should be to enjoy water lilies in summer and snow in winter. However, it is also the best place to appreciate koi. On the passage of the imperial garden, there is also a special scene. Small stones of different colors are used to inlay figures, flowers and birds, insects and fish, historical stories, etc. Xia Jihui has always been interested in these. She looked at them as she walked, and found it very interesting. I don't feel that the eldest princess just pulls the eldest sister to talk and ignores her and feels left out. The camellias are blooming well over there, let's go over there. Yuan Jia and Xia Jiwei passed by Duaxiu Mountain, and saw a lake with beautiful autumn waves, and saw a group of young girls walking towards them, talking and laughing. Yuan Jia frowned fiercely, but since she met her, she couldn't hide, so she pulled Xia Jiwei over. Xia Jiwei glanced at the younger sister behind him. Xia Jiwei hurriedly raised his head, looked over, even if he didn't look at the other party's clothes, he could tell that these boys and girls were all royal family members. Brother Big Emperor, Brother Fourth Emperor, Brother Fifth Emperor, Linghua, Hueha, are you going to see the koi too? After Yuan Jia saluted the two emperor brothers, he nodded with Xiao Sun and waited for Linghua and Hueha to see the koi carp. Salute her. King Xiang is the only younger brother of the current emperor with a single mother. The queen mother is still there, and the two sons of King Xiang are in the same order as the princes. Therefore, the eldest princess would call Xiao Sun the fifth brother, and before that, the fourth prince would call Xiao Sun the fifth brother. Xiao Chongxian. The last time we were too close to the gate of the city, Xia Jiwei didn't see Xiao Chongxian, but today, he was standing in front of him. Xia Jiwei glanced at him, trembling all over, even though she quickly lowered her head. This glance was too lethal, and it still caught Xiao Chongxuan's attention. He felt a knife like sharp gaze falling on him. He hurriedly looked up, only saw a pair of sisters from the Xia family, and said with a smile, so the eldest sister has guests. Xia Jiwei and Xia Zhihui stepped forward to salute together. The eldest prince Xiao Chongyuan asked, are these two girls from Dali Temple Qing Xia's family? Yes, Brother Huang, please feel free, I will take Sister Wei and second Miss Xia for a walk. Yuan Jia was not in a good mood. She originally wanted to have a good talk with Xia Jiwei, but she never got the chance until now. Sister Huang, shall I go with you? Princess Linghua came from the opposite camp. She looked Xia Jiwei up and down. You are a girl from the Xia family, why have I never seen you before? Humph, who knows where the cats and dogs come from, the third princess has never heard of many of them. Ask for tickets, please take care of the new book. End of this chapter. Chapter 19. Wonderful Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 19. Wonderful Eyes. It was the head of Hueha County who was speaking. She was the only daughter of Princess Chang Xiaochang. Xia Zhihui was so angry that her face turned green. In front of so many people, although it was the eldest sister who was scolded, they were all born in the same family. Xia Zhihui was thinking about how to fight back, and at the very least, she wanted to save some face. Even if the other party is a royal family, isn't it unreasonable? How could they be so humiliated as guests of the queen and princess? What the county lord Hueha said is true. However, likes gather together and people are divided into groups. The county lord should leave quickly and don't get too close to me. Xiao Sun raised his jade-like eyes to look at Xia Jiwei, and saw her pair of wonderful eyes, which were exactly the eyes that he saw at the gate of the city when he returned to the city that day, but he did not expect to meet again so soon. Noel. It turned out to be a girl from the Xia family, so the reaction was not unexpected. Pfft. Xiao Chongxian couldn't help laughing out loud. He was only 13 or 14 years old at this time, and he was still a young man who would be envied by Spring Breeze. Leave. Why should I leave? Why didn't you leave? The county magistrate Hueha didn't understand. A ball of fragrant jade, smiling and coquettish, it is no wonder that she is known as the most beautiful woman in the capital. With this little IQ, you're still swearing. Yuan Jia said angrily. Xia Jiwei is a guest she invited, and he has saved her mother and younger brother. He scolded Xia Jiwei to slap her in the face. If it wasn't for the Empress Dowager's liking for Hueha, a county magistrate inside and outside the palace, was even more domineering than the other princesses, Yuan Jia would have liked to let the nanny hold Hueha's mouth. You scolded me. He still didn't understand, but she didn't mind, she understood Yuan Jia's words. County Lord, which word am I scolding you? Xia Ji smiled slightly. It's the county lord who has such a big tone that he scolded everyone here. I didn't. He was so angry that her face turned green. She rolled up her sleeves. Okay, you actually dug a hole for me. I obviously only scolded you too, yet you dare to frame me. Enough. I'm stupid, and I'm relying on others. A cold voice sounded, and immediately after, Shao Sun stepped away impatiently, and the eldest prince and fourth prince followed after seeing it. Hui He stomped her feet anxiously, she glared at Xie Jiwei angrily, hurriedly trotted up, and did not forget to tell Xie Jiwei, this is never over. Sister Wei, don't pay attention to her, she is just a no-brainer. If you care about her, you are just like her. Xie Ji smiled, Sister Yuanjia, I won't argue with her. I'm afraid she won't understand me even if I scold her, isn't that playing the piano against a cow? Princess Linghua chuckled, Sister Wei, you are right, she is just a brainless person, she has a face for nothing, she has read books with us for so many years, even half a volume of The Analects of Confucius, if she can't memorize it, how can she understand the oblique words you said? Xie Zhihui didn't know much about the relationship in the palace, she just listened quietly from the sidelines, and didn't even bother to look at the beautiful stone corridor under her feet. His Royal Highness, shall we still go there to see the koi? Xie Zhihui didn't really want to see the koi carp anymore. After Hueha County Lord and the others passed by, she didn't want to join in the fun with the past. Don't worry, Megumi won't go to see the koi anymore. Linghua said. Why? Because Brother Wu Huang won't go, if Brother Wu Huang doesn't go, Hueha won't go. Xie Zhihui didn't understand, but Xie Jiwei had heard about it in her previous life. The county magistrate of Hueha wanted to marry her cousin Shao Sun, and even tried certain methods but failed. Die tormented. Xie Zhihui still wanted to see the koi, the four talked and laughed, and walked towards Chengrading. Sure enough, Hueha and his party were no longer in sight. The little brought the fish food, and Xie Zhihui and Linghua soon got together to play together. The two of them lay on the railing and used the fish food to tease the colorful koi. Some of the smarter fish even performed a show. The carp leaped over the dragon gate, and Xie Zhihui was stunned. Yuan Jia took Xie Jiwei's sleeve, Xie Jiwei understood, Sister Yuan Jia, I want to change. I'll have someone take you there. After she finished speaking, she called a court lady in a blue palace dress, Mu Xiang, take Miss Xie there. Xie Jiwei followed behind Mu Xiang, and just turned around Duaxiu Mountain, a palace lady carrying a lacquered wooden plate ran out from nowhere, bumped into Xie Jiwei, and poured a cup of warm tea on the plate into Xie Jiwei's body. Before Xie Jiwei came back to his senses, he heard Nanny Shi's voice scolding, how can a thing without eyes walk? The court lady quickly knelt on the ground and kowtowed, damn this slave, it's this slave who is blind. Pick up your things and get out. Nanny Shi scolded angrily, the maid picked up the plate, put the pieces on the plate, and left in a hurry. Miss Xie, this old slave will take you to change clothes. Xie Jiwei realized that her skirt was more than half wet. She lifted her skirt and nodded helplessly, then I'll be in trouble. Xie Jiwei followed Nanny Shi on another road, but she could tell that the destination was actually Fengji Palace. It seemed that the three empresses had already left, and the queen couldn't wait to know who was asking her. Poison. Nanny Shi led Xie Jiwei to the inner room of the side hall to change clothes, and then took Xie Jiwei to the queen's bedroom. The queen was already waiting. When she heard the movement, she hurriedly turned her head and waved to Xie Jiwei, come here, my good boy, I said that I let you enter the palace, but I didn't let you have a good time. Empress, the servants didn't come to the palace to play. She knew what the empress wanted to know, so she sat down on the little chair in front of the empress, and took the empress's pulse first. I wrote a prescription, showed it to the queen first, and then handed it to Nanny Shi, and said, Your Majesty, it is an extraordinary time now, you can't make any mistakes, please, madam, please find a proper imperial doctor to take the medicine, look at the decoction and see it with your own eyes. Take it with your mother, and you can't lose even half of it. Save me, old slave. Nanny Shi also felt that the responsibility was heavy, but the empress had a dragon seed in her belly, so she felt it was worth it even if she had to take huge risks. The empress felt anxious, she took Xie Jiwei's hand, what did you see today? Xie Jiwei shook his head, I haven't found anything wrong yet, but for safety reasons, I would like to ask the Empress to pretend to be ill for a while, stay in bed to thank guests, and the diet should be light and nutritious, and calm down. Until the 3-month pregnancy period expires. For the new issue, ask for votes and comments. End of this chapter. Chapter 20. See know you are listening at novelfull.audio. See Chapter 20. Listen to the strings and know the elegance. The Queen's eyes lit up suddenly, but she also had some worries. If she couldn't find that person, she would be in danger all the time, and couldn't even fall asleep. Xia Jiwei naturally understood what the Queen was thinking. She glanced at a pot of orchids by the window, and asked seemingly unintentionally, "Does the Empress like orchids very much?" The Queen was taken aback for a moment. She saw that Xia Jiwei looked at the orchid with some deep meaning in her eyes, and said, "My boudoir name has the word lawn in it, and I have a relationship with orchid, and I have liked growing orchids since I was a child." Xia Jiwei has also heard that there is a zhuangzi in the suburbs of Beijing in Wuhanhofu. There is a flower farmer known as the Orchid King in the zhuangzi. He has bred many orchid varieties, one of which is called Phalaenopsis, which blooms like an orchid. A butterfly that only spreads its wings to fly, and the flowers bloom in many colors. In the previous life, Xia Jiwei had the honor to meet him once. She was very beautiful and elegant. Beside the window is a pot of autumn bills, with beautiful flowers and a quiet fragrance, which makes people have a long aftertaste. "My lady, all flowers smell good, some are poisonous, some are not poisonous, but some non-poisonous flower fragrances may become poisonous once they are combined with other scents. The Empress is less than 3 months pregnant now, and everything is still in place. Take care first. You must be extremely careful when wearing incense and eating, and the minister thinks that some things that can be saved should be saved for the time being." What Xia Jiwei said, the Empress would naturally not ignore it. She once secretly asked Su Yi to take her pulse. In the beginning, Su Yi did not detect any abnormality. It was not until she told Su Yi what Xia Jiwei said, and Su Yi checked the pulse again. After being shocked, he said to her, "I heard that the Chui family's pulse and acupuncture techniques are extraordinary, and today I have finally seen it." In this way, what else can the Queen not believe? Although Xia Jiwei is a little younger, in ancient times, there were Gan Luo who worshipped his prime minister at the age of 9, Wen Ji who debated strings at the age of 6, and Jun Meng Chang who taught his father at the age of 5. The Queen didn't think that it was a young child with excellent medical skills. The Xia family and the Chui family had been a family for more than 100 years and had a profound heritage. Only such a stunning and beautiful eldest daughter could be justified. Nurse, she hurried over and blessed her body. "Mother, this pot of orchids is full of sunshine, and the slaves move out to bask in the sun." The Empress nodded. Xia Jiwei knew that this pot of orchids might not come back after moving out. She said hastily, "Empress, I wonder if my daughter is lucky enough to be rewarded by your mother for this pot of orchids." The Empress liked Xia Jiwei's intelligence very much, and she was courteous everywhere. She smiled, "Since you like it, just take it with you when you go back." Xia Jiwei bent down and saluted. "I thank the Empress for the reward, my daughter." The Queen was a little bit sorry. "Wei girl, you saved my life, and the dragon child in my stomach was also saved because of you. I should have rewarded you heavily, but right now, the time has not come yet, so you won't blame me. This palace, right? Xia Jiwei has a big conspiracy, so he naturally knows that if she gets a big reward from the Queen at this time, it is not a good thing if people know that she has excellent medical skills and become a thorn in the side. The Queen's heavy reward was not what she wanted originally, and she also knew that if the reward was delayed, the more she would get in the future. Empress, by the time of the winter solstice, Empress will be 3 months pregnant." The Queen took a deep breath, nodded and said, "Yes, it will be 3 months at that time. On the winter solstice, I will call you into the palace again." At this time, a palace maid outside the door was asking, "Empress, your Highness asked Miss Xia if she changed her dress." Empress, it is estimated that the second younger sister of the court lady is worried, and the court lady has to leave first. It is indeed not suitable for her to stay forever. This palace, even the Fengji Palace, is not like an iron bucket. Go, today's affairs must not be said a word to the outside world. The queen is still a queen, fierce and majestic as a mountain. When Xie Jiwei came to Qingrui Pavilion with Xie Jiwei, the eldest princess and Xie Jiwei were no longer here, and Xie Jiwei knew that the queen could not leave Xie Jiwei and said, "Mother, you go to work first, Aunt Muxiang will lead me." It's the same as going to find the eldest princess. Mu Xiang is also a palace man who is close to the princess. You take good care of Miss Xie, you must not neglect it, you know. Nanny, she beat the wood incense a bit before leaving worriedly. Xie Jiwei is not worried at all, she has lived in the palace for more than 10 years, and she is very familiar with the palace. The two of them walked downstream along the small lake, wearing flowers and brushing leaves, and just past a camellia flower garden, when they saw Xiao Changxian approaching with his hands behind his back. White jade to bring, on the left is a white jade fish lotus scarf and ring, on the right is a white jade engraved purse-style sachet, powder-soled soap boots, matched with his already handsome face, and his whole body is indescribably romantic. Elegant. BDNVL.M. In the previous life, Xiao Changxian invited the emperor to give her a marriage. When she didn't know it, she became Xiao Changshuan's fiancée with a letter of edict. All the women in the capital do not envy her, they all say that the fourth prince caught her eye and begged her personally. And he has also become the beloved man in her boudoir. He originally thought that even if the husband and wife raised the case as equals, he would respect her as his first wife. It wasn't until Xue Wanqing climbed into bed that she knew that before they got married, he had already promised Xue Wanqing the promise of being a mother. Looking at Xie Jiwei's eyes that were gradually deepening, Xiao Changxian found it interesting. In his memory, this was the second time he saw Miss Xie, and the way she looked at him was really special. "Thank you, Mississippi." Xie Jiwei was like waking up from a dream. She was startled, took a deep breath, and suppressed the churning emotions in her chest bit by bit. She kept telling herself, "Be sure to hold on, don't act rashly," and slowly bend your knees, saluted Xiao Changxian as usual, "See your highness the fourth prince." Mu Xiang saluted behind Xie Jiwei. Free gift. Xiao Changxian held the ring pendant by his side, twirling his thumb and index finger gently, and looked at Xie Jiwei with interest. "Miss Xie, have you and I met before?" "Never." Xie Jiwei said. "Oh, you and I have met twice today. I saw that you looked at me differently from others, and thought you and I were old acquaintances." Xie Jiwei's heart skipped a beat, she almost jumped out of her chest, she knew that Xiao Changxian was never a fool, he was very sharp, and the city was as deep as the sea, so it was not easy to be fooled. Xie Jiwei raised her head and smiled at Xiao Changxian. At that time, she was only a 10-year-old girl. Even if she behaved a little out of line, it was not wrong. She just said innocently, "Before the minister enters the palace, listen to the younger brothers in the mansion." It is said that the names of the 4 princes were selected in the capital, and the 4 princes are said to be outstanding in appearance, so the courtiers will inevitably take a second look, and if it is impolite, I will also look at the 4 princes Haihan. Ask for votes. Please comment. End of this chapter.